Hey everybody, welcome back. Friggin' good politics. Greg and Derek here. Hope that you've all been enjoying the spring. I live in Ontario, so it's been insane. I think Derek, you guys were saying it's been a little more normal over in the west end of Canada there.
No, it's snowing again.
Oh, is it? Oh, never mind. I take it
It
back.
was really nice, and now it started snowing again. So this is Canada, extreme weather,
Yeah.
up and down all the time.
Yeah, we
Sucks.
pretend like every year we're like, "Oh gosh, golly, that darn weather." And it happens every year, guys.
Yeah,
When are we ever going to learn?
we're not. We're not.
We are not going
Hey,
to learn.
I voted today,
Yeah, good for you.
so good
That's
for me.
great.
Last day of
Nice.
advance polls, so that's
Yes.
exciting. That's what we're talking about today. Is we got an election.
If in
Seven
case you didn't
days.
know.
In case you didn't know, it's 7 days to this election, and advance
Yeah.
polling is done as of today. So
Yeah.
that's exciting. And we should talk about that. Our beloved Maple Leafs destroyed the Ottawa Senators last night.
Let's
Like
go.
kicked them up and down the ice. It
Yeah.
was like if I'm a Senators fan, I'm crying right now. Allmark is terrible. He's known for being bad in the playoffs. He is bad in the playoffs. They were undisciplined. Those poor Senators. They were very mean. Like
They
Grizzly
were. It
Greg.
was a brutal game.
Yeah, Grizzly Greg
Physically
crossed.
speaking.
Yeah, physically. Yeah, like they definitely got their pound of flesh at the end
Oh
of the
yeah.
Ottawa Senators when they're losing very badly, punching everyone. But it was very cool to see Max Domi punch a guy in the face and then see screenshots from the Battle of Ontario a long time ago when it was his
Yes.
dad punching someone in the face. I'm like, that is nice and meaningful. I like that.
History rhymes. It's a beautiful
Yes.
thing.
So I said we get right into it, and now I'm talking about hockey. So let's let's get right into our
Let's get
plays of the
into it.
election, Greg.
All
I
right. But
can't help
first,
it. What can I say? This is what you get when you come to this
yeah,
podcast. Okay? There's like especially the Leafs are doing really good in the playoffs. It's only one game, but I think they're looking good.
as I've been saying this whole time, this is their year. So
I hope you're right. I really
I've
do.
still yet to be proven wrong. So let's go.
Someone, or hold on, somebody asked me today, it's like, would you prefer a CPC election victory or the Maple Leafs winning? And I said for sure CPC election victory. But if I can have both, I'll take a Stanley Cup for the Leafs and
Yeah.
a conservative government. That would be very helpful. But yeah,
Yeah.
I care about the country more than my sports team. I'll say
Yeah. You're a good. I would just say both because I'm a winner and winners just want to keep winning.
that because I'm a winner, Greg. So I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, so let's dive in. First play is the state of the election. We've had the
Yeah.
debates, we've had advance polls. Derek, your thoughts. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to show some polling here. Let me pull it up for the folks. If you're on audio, obviously you can't see it, so I will explain this as best as I can. So currently, federally speaking, the averages of all the polling has the Liberals at 43%, the Conservatives at 38%, NDP at 9, Bloc 6, Green Party 2. So NDP is still very low. They've gained maybe a little bit, but not much. It's like this has kind of been, if you look at the beginning of the campaign, about the same. Like it hasn't been a huge dramatic shift over the trend line, and there is a little tightening in the race at the end, as you can see, and there's still a week to go. And we're
Yeah.
going to talk about some of the sin bin stuff that the Liberals are doing that may impact them. In my opinion, I think the Liberals have run a lackluster campaign overall.
Yeah.
But
On the technical side, I would agree. Yeah, absolutely.
I think what it comes down to in this election, it's fear over hope.
Yeah.
And, I've joked with people before that, Brad Wall, who's, political mentor, I worked for him. I love the guy. He won his first election in 2007 on hope beats
Yep.
fear. And he had an amazing speech on that. And we always joked after the fact that fear is actually stronger than hope. Fear beats hope every single time. It's totally true. And, not every election, but if people are really terrified for some reason, they'll typically go with their fear because we're very emotional creatures and fear is a very powerful motivator. So if you hear Mark Carney talking, it is always about Donald Trump. Oh, this is a crisis. This is the worst thing ever. Even though it's quieted down a little bit, there's still
Yeah.
enough chatter out there. I saw the CBC in the White House in the press briefing room there
Yeah.
asking about this just to make sure that's really good for the Liberal.
Don't forget about it, people. Yeah.
Don't forget to be scared, everyone. Be very
Yeah.
afraid of Donald Trump. And for some reason, Pierre can't handle Donald Trump. I think he'd be better than Carney, in my opinion. But that's not how the country sees. They see an old guy with a resume, and they like that better. So it is what it is. And so that's what the polls are telling us. Now, let's break it down here, Greg, because not all these polls are consistent. You have Research Co. 43 to 38, Liberals in the lead,
A little
but
more
then you have
tight.
little tight, yeah, a little tightening. You see Main Street, so all conservatives are jumping on this, is that it's tied as
Yeah.
of Uh, the 19th is when that poll was done. Last week I guess on the 18th, not too long ago, they had the Conservative Party up by 4 points. So Main Street has the Conservatives either tied or up in
Yeah.
their polls. But most of the other polling has the Liberals either up by 5 points, 8 points, 6 points, 5, 8. It's pretty consistent. Again, there's some tightening with some of the polls. Abacus only has the Liberals up by 2, so that was a pretty significant tightening. So
Yeah.
if you're looking at the polls, you're probably predicting a Liberal majority. Is that
Yeah.
fair?
I think yeah, if you're looking at the top line numbers week to week, like that's what it's looked like since the
Hmm.
start of the election.
Yeah.
Now depending again, but it depends on which poll you're looking at. Like Main Street over the weekend, there was a liberal or a conservative surge, which then reduced back down to a tie. Does
Yeah.
that mean? And people have been sort of opining about this as like, is there actually this sort of weekend effect where demographics which are not able to be pulled during the week are suddenly like over the holiday weekend they're free now, they'll pick
Yeah.
up the phone, they'll answer that poll, which shows suddenly a huge surge in conservative support, and then
Hmm.
bleeding support to the liberals lost support to the NDP in those weekend polls, and then as soon as the weekend's over it goes back to normal. So are we seeing a bit of a weekend effect there? I mean, I actually do think that's a thing. We've seen that in other polls
Yeah.
in other places.
Yeah.
I still think also generally speaking, the pollsters are missing certain demographics.
They are.
Like you
Yeah.
look at some of and I know that there are like ways for in terms of like the weighting and all that for these pollsters to manage those kinds of effects. But
Hmm.
when we look at certain elections that have happened, BC, Ontario, especially Saskatchewan, like even with that weighting, they can still be wildly off,
Yes.
wildly off.
Yeah.
Like I don't, not to keep belaboring on it, but that Saskatchewan election, like I think every single pollster got it wrong. I don't think one
Yeah.
single that I can remember. And if I am misremembering, I apologize to your
No,
polling
there was
firm, but
no, it was generally they were off by about 14, 15 points in the
which is a
Saskatchewan election.
lot. Like that is
That's
a
a lot.
lot.
Well, because I remember going into the Saskatchewan election, I was like, we're losing. Like, I'm
Yeah.
a Sask Party guy. Everybody knows that. I'm
Oh,
like,
you
we're
are?
done.
What?
What? What?
Oh my God.
You
You're
caught,
telling me now for the first
you
time.
caught, you caught me, Greg. You told me for the first, you sounded like, I love your Donald Trump impressions. Are always so good. Uh, so yeah, like they could, like, if I'm a conservative, what I'm hoping for is that the pollsters just aren't capturing the right people, which is very possible. Now, the thing that made me feel bad today, Greg, I'll tell you, I did my voting today, and I was
Yeah.
at advanced polls in my community in Calgary, and I didn't like the median age that I saw at the polling stations. There was quite a few people there, and I'm not young anymore. Like I'm kind of getting old now. I'm turning 40 this year. Yikes!
That's not
And
even
I
old.
and I was still either the youngest or close to the youngest there,
Oh, really?
and everybody was gray haired and old. And the problem is that's who votes. Like
Yeah.
whoever, people that control the country are the ones that vote, and old
Yeah.
people vote. So the conservatives are having a problem with the boomer vote. I think you've seen some ads recently on that.
Yeah. Yeah. If you
With
watched
some
the hockey game, you would have seen, I would assume you've seen the same ads that I saw. There was the two old guys with doing the golfing.
the golfing thing. Yeah.
And there was a few other commercials that they ran, specifically targeting that older cohort.
Oh,
Yeah. And well, in the Stephen Harper nomination, they had that video about
yeah.
him endorsing Pierre, not nomination, endorsement.
Yeah. Endorsement
Endorsing
of
Pierre
Harper.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
I
they've
think
been
it was
trying to reach out to that demographic and pull some of particularly the male boomer vote. They've been trying to pull that vote back in a bit.
for sure, for sure. So we'll see if that happens. Now in Ontario, it's quite interesting here. Like when I look at some of these polls, liberals still look up pretty well, but there is some regional polls that seem to have the conservatives looking better than what these say. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not overly encouraged by these numbers, if I'm being honest. Like they
Well,
all look pretty good.
like if you look at the most recent one, their Research Co. Like
Yeah.
they had only have the Liberals up 6 points. And
Hmm.
frankly, in Ontario, like a lot of that +6 could be run up numbers in places like Toronto, where the Liberals are going to win by an outsized number anyway. But that
Yeah.
means that the Conservatives still take places like Burlington, Brampton, Peterborough, London West, even London
Hmm.
Center, like big urban centers that could go conservative. And if you I don't know what was where was the other most recent Research Co poll, because I think that's still
Hmm.
quite a bit higher or tighter rather than the
There's
last
so
one.
many stinking polls here. It's hard
I
to.
know. So, because some of them do, like, the other thing is some pollsters poll daily and like do a rolling
Right,
daily,
right.
whereas some are only doing them, once every 2, 3 weeks. Yeah, like
Yeah,
look at
researchers
that,
go.
48 to 39. Like that's a +9 down to a +6 lead. Like that is
Yeah,
that is
that's
significant
true.
tightening.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
no, I think there's definitely tightening happening in Ontario. I just, you have a week to go. Advanced polls have
yeah,
already pretty much happened. They're done today. Is that going to be enough?
yeah,
It's hard to say. Like it's again, let's talk about turnout here. Well, no, sorry, let's go through the polls, then we'll talk about turnout. So,
sure.
uh, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, it's pretty consistent. CBC, although there's some tightening. This is where the polls doesn't make sense to me in some ways. Like I saw a story on the weekend that Raquel Doncho in Manitoba in the Winnipeg area is like she's in trouble. I'm like, there's no way she's in trouble. She's fine.
Yeah.
So I hope I'm wrong about that. But Alberta, some of the polls were calling for like, 8 or 9 seats in Alberta. No, that's not happening. And like if you talk to the people on the ground here, there's no way that's happening.
Yeah.
Um, and then
And I,
yeah,
and I think these sorts of on because there's the game in the air, which is polls, and there's the game on the ground. The ground, what is
yes,
just called the ground game.
yep,
And if you look at it from the air, and people we've been saying this since the start of the election, you look at the game in the air polling, liberals are going
yep,
to win. But when you
yep,
go down onto the ground and you hear the on the ground data about things
hmm
like signs being put up, the rallies, voter ID stories from the various different ridings, like it's a very different election on the
hmm
ground versus
yep,
in the air. And there's ridings that normally go. I'm reading stories all the time. Like I've been walking around in my riding, and these are liberal people saying like,
hmm
normally all these homes that I'm walking by have red signs on them, and now they all have blue signs. What's going on?
yeah,
So I think there's a very different story on the ground. Now,
hmm
sometimes it's just inconsistency of what the data, like people see a different anecdote is not data. You see something different, your own personal view, but
yep,
the
yeah,
grand data scheme is still the true story. But again, I think with the things we've already talked about with polling and capturing different demographics, I think this election is not anyone making like a firm prediction. I don't think you can. I don't think you're actually able to make a very firm prediction right now.
no, no. And so let's talk about BC for a second because I'm surprised these numbers are so low for the Conservatives in BC, judging on what their main issues are there and how the Conservatives represent those so well and how it was so leaning towards Conservative for so long. And that's if
Yeah,
you can't see the map if you're on audio, but it's like the polling's all over the place. It's wild. Like it's
yeah,
completely inconsistent. So like for me, BC is like who freaking knows there? Like it,
yeah,
it is definitely like whoever shows up. So I think you're right,
yeah,
Greg. Like the ground game is huge in this one. And you saw that in the Trump election too. It's like Kamala was supposed to win big. Everyone thought she was going to win, and then a bunch of young males showed up and they took the
yeah.
election. So, Pierre's been cultivating a vote and a coalition for a long time here,
And it's
and
very firm.
and it's very firm. And so if those all show up, he's going to be in good shape. Like I talked
Yeah,
to some people that are very well connected with all the Ontario campaigns for the Conservatives, and they're like they're in really good shape and they're going to really surprise people. What does that
yeah,
mean? I don't know. It's like we'll see who shows up on election day, right? The
yeah,
thing that I just don't like is that old people vote and old people are breaking more liberal right now.
yeah,
So that's what has me uh frustrated because
yeah.
okay, actually, do you know what the funniest meme is right now? I'm gonna look it up. Uh
While
do
you
you know
look
the
it up,
meme?
I think I know what you're talking about, but the thing is because for so long the boomer vote was they were the dominant demographic of Canada, well for everywhere. But in Canada they were the 50% plus of the population for decades. But
Yeah.
now they're way less than that. Gen Z and millennials, I believe actually even millennials alone are bigger than the boomer vote, and Gen Z or sorry Gen X and millennials
hmm
way outsize the boomer vote. And
Yeah.
if the same ratio of Gen X and millennial conservatives came out to vote at the ratio yeah, that boomer voters came out, it would be a conservative landslide.
Yes, that's right. So you can't
In
see this
case
if
you
you're on
didn't
audio.
see,
So just look up liberal boomer meme and you'll see that a live shot of a guy in a red, like older guy, red sweatshirt, has a liberal pin on and he's giving the camera the finger. And it's like live shot of liberal boomers to younger Canadians with their vote. And that's like there's so many funny things in this election where you have like millennials begging their grandparents to vote conservative.
Yeah.
Like you, like if you're on TikTok, that's a very interesting realm of different people. Like it does not break liberal on there. It is
No.
fully conservative minded on there. And that's the millennials, some Gen Xers, and the Gen Zs.
Yeah.
And so like those people aren't being polled. Like that's
No.
like all the people I know, it's like they've never contributed a poll, but those boomers sure have. And they are telling the young voters to be like, we still control this thing and
Yeah.
we're going to vote the way we're going to vote. And they may get their way. We'll see.
Yeah.
That's the excitement of this. It's kind of like, the Toronto Maple Leafs are, not supposed to win the cup, but they just may show up and win the cup.
Yeah. But
You
In
never,
that analogy, Gary Bettman is the boomer voter in that
oh,
analogy.
he is for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Now I've heard people saying that there is a fix for the Leafs this year, which I'm like, fine, fix it for the Leafs. I don't care. I'll take
Yeah.
anything at this point. Yeah, because they said it'd be really good for the league for
Hmm.
the Leafs to finally get her done and go
Okay.
against an American franchise. He loves his Southern based teams, like Gary Bettman, as we know.
Yeah.
So, oh, also on Twitter, I don't know if you saw it, but Anthony Stolarz was not on the ice today. Our beautiful boy Anthony Stolarz,
Oh,
but
really?
they were just resting him. He's not injured. He's okay.
Okay. I was going to
But
say,
Ridley
what happened?
Gregg ran him, of course. That should be on your bingo sheet for everyone watching this series. Is that he will run your goaltender and he will cross check one of your best players in the face and only get 2 minutes for that. So I'm not doing rough talk here. I'm not mad.
Yeah.
I'm just angry at Ridley Gregg and he
Yeah.
needs to be put in his place. Okay, sorry, enough
Derek
of
couldn't
that.
help himself. He had to get back. He had to do another round of hockey talk.
I can't help it. Okay, I'm too excited about. I got so many big things happening,
I
Leafs
know.
and massive election here. So yeah, 1 week to go for voting. Anything else that's striking you about this race?
Yeah,
Right.
it's the debates were very interesting. I
They
think
were. Yeah.
like Blanchet probably technically won the French debate because he's the French guy.
Sure. Yeah.
I think Pierre probably won the English debate. He had the best punches landed on the main opponent. Like if you're talking about the two
Yeah.
guys talking about forming government, Pierre landed the best blows.
Yeah.
And Carney messed up with that question about the security clearances. So he definitely you can't say he won on that question alone. But
Mhm.
does that, I mean, polling suggests that Pierre was the winner. Does it move that many votes? I'm not sure. I think it moves some undecideds.
Yeah.
I think
Maybe
it
a
probably
few.
does, maybe a point or two come election day.
Yeah.
Um, so it may perhaps the era of debates deciding elections is kind of over, but I still think it does have an effect. And it was fun to watch. Like it was a fun experience to watch and join in the conversation of. So
It got better as it went, the English debate for me, anyways. Like the
yeah,
French debate, I thought, well, and there was some repetitive stuff. Like they said the same talking points in the French versus English
yeah,
one. But I thought the key moments were Jagmeet Singh was annoying throughout the whole thing,
yeah,
not allowing Carney or Pierre to answer. And I really liked the emotional moments for Pierre at the end. Like when he
yeah,
talked about all those people that I used to meet after rallies where you'd stand for hours and listen to all their stories. He's like, I haven't forgotten about you. And
yeah,
I was like, oh man, that's pretty emotional. And then
yeah,
his finishing line about the, broken promises, the promise of Canada feels like it's broken. And he's like, but it's not forever. Like we're gonna fix this. And this is the
yeah,
hope versus fear
yeah,
thing. Like, and then Carney's final thing was Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump,
yeah.
Donald Trump. And we got to worry about him. And you got to have a plan when you're in a crisis. And he doesn't actually have a plan.
Yeah,
And
let's so actually let's talk about that plan. So let's talk
okay.
about platforms. That's our
All right.
second play. You perfectly segue me, Derek, on that
I
one.
did that on
Let's
purpose. Yes, we did
yeah,
properly.
let's dive in. Platforms. Do they matter? Do people even, people talk about no one watches debates anymore, but do people even read platforms anymore?
No, I don't think they read them. I think they see the headlines of them, of all
Yeah,
the influencers talking about them. And so the Liberals came out with theirs on, was it Saturday? They released their
Saturday,
plan?
yeah.
Saturday, yeah. And so the funny thing about it is that $130 billion in new spending. So he would actually eclipse Trudeau in some of the giant spending that they're talking about. And so, this is a very liberal spend money on give everybody money for everything. And what Pierre's trying to make a case for, and actually a lot of like actually legitimate economists, not like right-leaning ones, but just like economists are being like,
Yeah,
this is going to cause more inflation and put us
yeah,
in a worse position and make our credit
yeah,
rating worse, which means we pay more money on interest.
yeah,
And the the other funny thing was that it sort of came out that this was actually designed for Trudeau, this platform.
Yeah.
And I was kind of confused because I heard Carney talking in the debate. It's like, we're going to balance it in 3 years. And then they came up with the platform being like, no, we're not going to balance it ever.
No, we're not going to do that at all.
It's just never balanced. And I was like, what? What? Like, the inconsistencies here is really bad. Now, I think this is a snap election. Carney's brand
Yeah.
new. I think if he had more time, he would put his stamp on it. But like, his stamp is not on this thing at all. It's a Trudeau platform and budget.
Yeah.
And it is frightening. And so what
Yeah.
people are saying is inflation is a hidden tax.
Yeah.
So you can see you cut tax, but if you're spending and spending and spending, you're devaluing your dollar, you're adding to the
Yeah.
money supply. And so everyone's money becomes less worthwhile and it costs more money to build, spend, purchase anything.
Yeah.
And so that's I don't know if people are going to get through on that. Like, this is a final week, but there's definitely more hope, I guess, for conservatives when you look at
Yeah.
that and be like, wow, this is exactly a Trudeau budget. Like, this is way more of the same. And so obviously the conservatives are hitting on that big time. So I thought that was a big miss for the liberals. Like, if, you know, a Carney kind of presents this more fiscally responsible, progressive,
Yeah. He's
conservative
trying to
type of
be the
view.
centrist Tory kind of quasi
Yeah.
red Tory thing. Yeah.
It's the classic, like, I'm going to give you all the policies of Pierre, but you don't have to have Pierre. It's a total farce. That's the problem
Yeah.
for me, is it's not that at all. And it is painful to watch because I feel like people are getting very duped on this and they're going to get
Yeah.
way more of the same. And so I joke sometimes. I'm like, Canadians are smart enough. They're going to figure this out. And then I have some people laugh at me and they're like, Derek, no, it's not like, people are not figuring this out, and people are not as engaged as you think they are. And so I don't know. Like, we just had 10 years of Justin Trudeau, who I thought was good at campaigning and
Yeah.
terrible at
Very
governing.
good campaigner, terrible terrible or politician. Yeah.
Yeah, terrible. Well, terrible at governing.
Sorry,
Like, he was,
terrible government. Yeah, government. Yeah.
yes, yeah. Like,
Very good
he's
campaigner.
yeah. Like, I never believed his charismatic thing that he was doing, and is like, I'm a left liberal elitist, whatever. He was just doing that for the progressive votes, and Gerald Butts was one of his key strategists, was telling him to do that because
Yeah.
I don't think that's who Trudeau is at his core. I think he's quite different than that. I think he's more of a ladies' man and different things than people realize. But
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Either way, the country was kind of duped by Trudeau for the last decade, and are they going to be duped by Carney and then eventually get mad at him, want to boot him out and elect another liberal? I'm like, I sure hope not, but it could certainly happen again.
Yeah, I mean, we did go through a Black Swan event, so it's hard to say like what could or
I
should
know.
have or would have happened. Like, who knows? I mean, my bottom line on this election is I think, and we can sort of segue into even our third play on this
Sure.
is, we're at the point of the election where the Carney liberals are trotting out the abortion thing. Pierre's gonna use the Supreme Court or not the Supreme Court. He's gonna use Section 33 to undo your abortion rights and blah blah blah. And the
The
guns, there's gonna
notwithstanding
be
clause.
guns everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're already trotting that out. And I thought, my goodness, like if you're trotting that out, like I don't think things are actually going as well for you as you signal. Like if and they he made a comment about if you like make sure to give us a majority so we have the tools we need to get. So I thought, oh, okay, wow, that's a
Mhm.
bit of a subtle. He didn't say those exact words, but that's the if you read between the subtext, like give us enough wind in our sails or some such comment that he made. And I thought, wow, okay, so
Mhm.
you guys are even seeing on your your ground game data that this is not going as well for you. Like you're trying to we'll say the abortion. Well, you fear, get out. Like they're clearly not getting enough people out to vote on their fear campaign. It's working well enough for them in things like polling where people are like, oh yeah, I guess I'd vote for that guy. But
Mhm.
does it translate into people actually getting up off their couch, going and voting for that party? I actually I'm not fully convinced of that yet. I will be proven one way or another
Yeah.
wrong or
Oh, we
right on
will.
Monday. But I'm
That,
I'm leaning more toward it not being a thing.
well, that's the conservative hope, I think, in this
Yeah.
situation, is that you saw this record turnout and you're thinking that's because people are really motivated for a change.
Yes.
And there is, a lot of people that do want change, and there's young people that are voting for the first time, and they,
Yeah.
Pierre has cultivated an interesting coalition, and they should show up. Now, I don't know if it's desperation from the liberals in this final play to motivate their. Again, this is more fear. So it's
Yeah.
like the super fear motivation. So does super fear motivation get people out to vote? Yes and no. Like, I think it could be like, I'm fearful, but I kind of want change. Like I'm just thinking of the psychology of a person that's sort of unsure, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I heard something about Pierre and abortion, and that just kind of scares them, and so they would vote liberal. But I wonder if that just makes them stay home a little bit. I also wonder if this is just what the liberal playbook is every election. Like Pierre's been clear, we're not changing anything on abortion. And then Carney comes out today and says he's going to use the notwithstanding clause to restrict your path to abortion. And the
Which
reporter
is
was
so
like, well,
stupid.
so
Like,
stupid. And the reporter was like, well, Pierre Poilievre said he would do exactly the opposite of what you're saying. And then he just repeated, he goes, no, it's a fact that he's going to do this. And the reporter was like, what? Like, how are
well,
you
like
saying?
it's stupid because Pierre, first of all, has made it very clear, like through his entire time, that he could, like this
Yeah.
entire campaign, that he's not going to do it. And second of all, what is he even going to Section 33? There's no law. We're the only country
No.
left in the entire world that has no law on this at all. What the heck
Yeah.
is he going to Section 33? Like, does the like he would I guess he'd have to make a law and then the court would have to be like no and then he'd override it, I guess. But it's like,
It doesn't make any
okay, like
sense.
what if he brings in, a European style law that cuts it off at a certain time, like 30 weeks or something like that, that most every other nation has? Like,
Hmm.
are we really gonna like freak out about that? Like in Section 33? Like it's just so stupid.
It really makes no sense, but well, sorry, it makes no sense because it's completely dishonest. But it's politics. This is why people get disillusioned with politics because this
Yeah,
is a complete lie that's being used to scare people away, and
yeah,
it's the giant fear machine that the liberals are creating here, and
yeah,
that is the game that is being played, and they do it every election, and it looks like there's always an abortion thing and there's always a guns thing. So
yeah,
Bear's going to bring all his gun crime to our streets, even though like the facts are very clear in that gun crime is way up
yeah,
and limiting all this gun stuff, it's all illegal guns anyway. So it's like
yeah.
registered criminals don't use registered guns. Like,
No, spoiler alert.
spoiler alert. But you know what would help is putting people in jail rather than giving them bail and
Yeah,
having them go and recommit offenses, which is the thing that happens all the time. So you're never going to eliminate all gun crime, but
no,
the whole soft on crime thing that we've been doing for a long time in this country is clearly not working, and we
yeah,
need to do something. But again, people don't vote with facts. So I've always said facts don't care about your feelings. Well, it's actually the opposite. Feelings do not care about your facts.
yeah.
So the fact that Pierre said we're not doing that at all, and we would never do that, and he's been consistent, and the whole thing about guns being the liberals have the facts completely wrong. Doesn't matter. They're like scary gun crime. Oh, scary abortion stuff that Pierre could do, but it's a completely, it doesn't matter. So that's what Carney's doing. And he's
Yeah.
being advised by some people that have done this for a long time. Throw it out there. And, so, they complain that Pierre's like Donald Trump. This is a very Donald Trumpy
This
move,
is
by the
very
way.
Like the if any party is doing the American style politics
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
it's absolutely the Liberal Party of Canada. It's brutal.
It is brutal. Yeah. And so like I'm hoping Canadians will sniff it out. Like that's my hope. And then all the young people that know that things need to change here, they're gonna show up and vote.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's desperation for the liberals or that's just the playbook that they like to run at the end of the election. Is
I
in the
think
final
yeah, I
couple
mean
weeks,
it could be a bit of both. I still
could
think
be a bit
like
both.
them because they've brought it up multiple times now during this election and they keep bringing it up,
Yeah.
which to me and like otherwise I think they'd be doing a very different thing toward the end of the
Mhm.
election. But that them like Carney going, back to Ottawa to campaign in his home riding, talking about abortion, like signals to me like this, like just, and it's not even just that like they're asking questions or they're maybe saying, well, who knows what Pierre's going to do. He's like, oh, it's a fact. He's definitely going to do it. He's going to do it. It's a fact. Like the way that he's saying it signals to me like things are not going well in Liberal HQ, and they're trying to like they haven't got enough people out yet to vote for them,
Mm.
and so they're making that final push of like fear, 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 abortion, abortion, guns, 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 get out, make sure you get
Yeah,
out, or you're
that could
gonna
be.
die. You're gonna die from not being able to get abortion or some stupid thing. Like,
Yeah. I always just worry, Greg, that we're putting our blue lenses on our glasses when we talk about these issues. And so I'm trying to it's like we're seeing it through like our hopeful hopium conservative lenses.
yeah,
And but you're right. There is probably something there. Like you have this massive turnout over the weekend, and maybe people don't know this, but you have scrutineers and
yes, yeah,
people at these. So you basically get a list after voters come in, and you see who vote. Well, every election is a little bit different. But you basically get a list, and you're able to check that off with the people that you've ID'd to see if they've
yeah,
showed up and voted. And then so parties internally will have a good sense of who actually showed up to vote for them.
Yeah.
And it's not perfect data, but it's usually really good sign because
It's very
someone,
indicative of a result.
yeah. So you're right. Maybe they are a little bit freaked out. And so they're really playing up the fear game in the last week. That is possible. Like typically bigger turnout favors a change election.
Yeah. Oh,
Typically,
yeah. Yeah.
that's how the game gets played. But I think what the liberals are spinning this as is that people are so afraid of Trump, they're showing up to vote for us. That's what
Yeah.
they're saying. And so yeah, well, I guess this is why it's exciting to watch. There's nothing sharper for me than an election night because it's like it's so clear who the winner and who the loser is.
Yeah.
Like unless it's like a muddled weird election where there's like coalition governments that need to be formed, but typically it's like it's so sharp. It's like this person
Yeah.
won, this person lost. It's like
Yeah.
Kamala lost, Trump won, South Party won, and like whoever, right?
Yeah.
And to me, if I can bring it back to hockey again, because I love to do that, is it's like in the Stanley Cup Finals when you could have like three
Yeah.
OTs and you could go on forever, but all of a sudden there's that one goal and it's such a sharp
Yeah. And
point.
one winner, one loser. Yeah.
One winner, one loser. Someone's super elated, someone is very sad.
Yeah.
And that's what makes elections exciting for me is you go through all this, you talk about it ad nauseum, and at the end of the day, nobody knows because it's whoever shows up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think this is good analysis though, Greg. We got some good thoughts here that people
This
can
is, yeah,
maybe pick
some
up.
heavy thinking brain matter talking stuff.
Absolutely. So I
I do
guess
think the turnout favor because normally, yes, 100% turnout favors the new guy on the block who's coming to unseat the government.
yes.
Probably about 80-20 it favors them. I think in this election, because of the whole like Carney's new and Trump fear,
Hmm.
I still think it favors Pierre, but it's probably down to like closer to a 60-40 benefiting
Yeah.
the conservatives.
Yeah.
Because like you said, everyone in your lineup was gray hair. Now that
Yeah.
doesn't mean like not all boomers are liberal.
No,
There's
no, no.
also I was talking with my wife about this. There is also a known effect in politics where called the wife listening in effect, where like the husband
Mm.
picks up the phone to be polled, and his wife who disagrees with him politically is in the living room and she can hear. Oh yeah, we're both voting
Oh,
liberal. You could put us both down for liberal, but then he goes into the polling booth and votes NDP or conservative or something different.
right.
To avoid an argument,
Oh,
a
I've
domestic
never heard
argument.
that
So
before. That's interesting, but I could see that being a thing for
no,
sure.
I'm not saying it's like, oh my gosh, boomer men are voting 100% conservative. I just like it could be something like a 1 to 2% movement on election day.
Mhm.
But that is a known phenomena in the political world.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see that. It is a known it is a known fact that a lot of people will say one thing to just be kind of polite to the pollsters because they think that's what they're supposed to say,
Oh yeah.
and then once they get to the booth, they're like, especially change elections because it's like,
Yes.
yeah, I guess I'll stick with the liberals even though they have all their problems or whatever. And that's actually there's been some polling done that I've seen on that where it's like the liberals, despite all their faults, are still the best one to govern right now. But they may get into that voting booth and be like, screw it, conservative
Yeah. Yeah.
or NDP or whatever, right? Like
Something
I thought
else, yeah. Or stay
I thought
home.
the only part of Jagmeet Singh's debate that I thought was interesting is when he said you need an NDP government to be a check and a balance on these liberals because without us they would never have done childcare, they would never have done pharmacare, all those types of things. And so I think there's something there for the
Yeah.
NDP. It doesn't seem to be getting through, but that's a decent pitch. Like he should have been talking about that a long time ago, in my
Well,
opinion.
if you looked at Abacus's numbers, like a lot, all these like Main Street, even Main Street, which has the conservatives had them over the weekend. That was the pollster that had them up 4 points.
Yeah,
Still only had the NDP at like 6.5. But if you look
crazy.
at Abacus, which had a tie between the liberals and the conservatives,
Hmm.
but that was the NDP had actually gone up 2 points, and then they were
Yeah,
up another. If you looked at the certain to vote, they were up
yeah.
another point or two. So
Hmm.
I think there is a chance that we see on election day, especially if it's a tie election and where people, because there's an effect known as divergers law or divergers law where it's like people will choose the winner. But if there's no clear
True. Yeah.
winner, people
Yeah.
may go, well, I'll just vote for the thing that I actually want to vote for,
Right.
which may, Green Party or NDP or
Right.
PPC or Christian Heritage or some other third party. People may end up, non-conservative voters maybe perhaps if they feel that Carney's not actually going to put it over the finish line, may end up
Right.
switching their vote at the last minute. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a massive psychology thing.
Yeah.
And it's also funny that I never, I haven't worked as much on the ground campaigning as maybe I'd like to understand all this, but like the thing you typically do, and just for education for people, is you want to do what's called IDing your votes. You go door
Yes.
knock, you text message, you do petitions, all that sort of thing, and then you would figure out who are my voters, and you'd have their
Yes.
address and their phone number. And then advanced polls leading up to election day, you're saying, hey, are you vote like did you vote in advanced polls? Make sure to vote. Here's how to vote. We'll get you a ride. We'll,
Yeah.
like how much do you think that actually sways based on your experience? Like I get a phone call to say reminder to vote. Is that like, is that swaying 5% of the vote? Can you sway up to 10 to 15% of the vote? Like
That's a good
I've,
question. I wouldn't actually. It definitely does work. What the actual percentage is, I would have no clue. And my initial guess would simply be it depends on the election.
yeah, it would for sure. Like I think it moves people for sure. I almost think we need to have like someone who's like a core campaign manager, like Steve Outhouse. We should have him on this
Yeah, we should have
because
someone
that,
on to talk about that.
yeah, like this could be a thing after to figure out the who actually showed up to vote and why they did and why they didn't. But I always
Yeah.
found that to be an interesting thing. Like there's certain communities where it's like you can go into the seniors' home and grab all the seniors in a bus and bring them out
Yes.
to vote for you if they're going to vote for you and whatever. So there's that stuff going on. Or sometimes there's like rural communities, you bring everybody in and do busing and whatnot. So that could work pretty well. And then like the urban rural splits are always weird for how you can do things there. So no, it's
Yeah.
interesting. And just the psychology of how people respond to all these things is fascinating to me. That's again another reason why I love politics and love elections is it's a big psychological game that's
Yeah.
happening out there. And the only scoreboard is the polling right now, so it's like it looks like the Liberals are up right now. But then
Yeah.
everyone might show up that want to change, and the people that are more meh about what's going on right now with the Liberals, but kind of just said in polling that they would vote, maybe they're not showing up in as great in numbers. You
If
don't
I can,
know.
if I can give one more final sports analogy to cap us off for this
Please,
episode,
oh please.
I think this actually does help explain how polling is different from ground game.
Hmm.
Polling is like shots on net.
Mm.
Shots on net gives you a good idea of who's maybe like in the air. You got a general idea of like, okay, who's fighting, who's getting the puck
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
other side of the ice. But the ground game is the actual goal scored. Like
right.
who's getting those wins over the finish line? Who's getting their voters to the voting booth on advanced polls and E-Day? Who's getting that voter ID? Who's getting those lawn signs? Now, the only
Yeah,
thing is you don't know that final score until E-Day.
right.
So it's hard to gauge, but I think that helps differentiate between like because a lot of times shots on net does give you a very good indication of who's
It
winning the
does.
game.
Yeah.
But at
Yeah.
that this most recent Toronto Sens game, the Sens were outscoring or out shooting in terms of shots on net Toronto by quite a margin.
Yeah. I know.
But Toronto was being way more efficient with their shots on net and turning those into
Hmm.
goals. So
Yeah.
anyway, there's your one final sports analogy.
That's a great analogy, Greg. Did you just pull that one out of nowhere, or
Just the Lord literally was just like
just
right into my brain
that's
there.
good? Yeah, because it's the deserve to win meter,
Yeah,
which in playoffs past, the Leafs have the meter based on possession time and shots on goal and all that sort of thing. The stats are saying they should win, and they would
yeah,
always lose
yeah,
because their high danger chances would be lower. Their shots on net would be from bad angles.
yeah,
And so it looks like, oh, this team should have crushed. But now the Leafs are actually doing it differently now, where they actually get less shots on goal, but they're very good at defending the front of their net compared to what they used
yeah.
to be. So, and their goaltending is just generally better and whatnot. So,
Yeah, oh
uh,
yeah. Oh my gosh. And their defense, like, which is the thing I've been saying for years.
well, and their defense is so much better than it used to be. Like,
Yeah.
you at least have four guys that you really trust in a defensive core now. You could say Morgan Riley. My kid calls him a garbage can with hands, uh,
Poor Morgan
which is
Riley. I
very
like him as a
mean.
guy. I like him as a person.
I love Morgan Riley, and he's not that. So I'm not saying that. That was my child who's
As your
very
child,
mean
yeah.
to Mo. So that Morgan Riley's a great guy, and we're not saying that about Mo. And he scored a goal last night, so maybe playoff Mo is
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
That's
Let's
what
do
I'm
it.
feeling. So if anyone doesn't like hockey, sorry, this episode maybe wasn't for you,
This is
but
not for you. Tune out now before it's
but
too
yeah,
late.
but you're a Canadian. You care about this election. You got to care about
Yes.
hockey at some level. It's pretty important.
I would hope so.
Like especially if a Canadian team goes on a run this year. Okay, let's end on this. Who's winning the cup this year? Sorry, no. How about say who's your two Western and Eastern team in the Stanley Cup Finals? Who you
Oh
got?
gosh. I mean, honestly, I would just my only pick is the Leafs. Like that's it.
Okay, so Leafs are in the finals. Eastern. Who's the Western Conference opponent? Who do you got?
Oh god, I have no idea.
It's like you don't even care about the West.
I
Typical
just, yeah, I
Easterner.
like, I would, well,
Typical Ontario.
I've
I
literally,
don't
I
even.
just haven't thought. I haven't
Well,
thought
there's
about it.
Western teams. I didn't know there was Western teams in the NHL. I thought there was only an Eastern
I guess
division.
like I like, I'd be happy with like an
Classic.
Oilers win or something like that.
So you're saying Oilers Leaf final?
Yeah, I mean, like any win where like a Canadian team wins, like even if the Leafs lose, like they
Mhm.
don't make it on. Like I'll root for whatever Canadian teams are there. I don't care. I just want a Canadian Cup.
Yeah. Well, okay. So
Other
you're saying
like that's second to wanting the Leafs to win. So
okay. So I told somebody that I thought the St. Louis Blues were going to win the cup just because they seemed hot, and then I watched one
yeah,
game. I'm like, no, they're not going to win. So
expert
I was like,
analysis.
that's my expert analysis. But I would love to see Leafs versus Avalanche in the finals.
Yeah.
That would be a
Okay.
very
Okay.
fun series. That'd be very good. I think the Avalanche are hot. I think they're going to beat Dallas. Dallas seems broken and they
Yeah.
limped into the playoffs. Even though they're a great
Yeah.
team, they're just they don't have the momentum right now. So they gotta somehow get that back. I love Jake Ottinger. He signed a stick for my
Okay.
kid at the All-Star game. So
Nice.
I love Otter. Good guy. He's gonna win lots in his lifetime. But it doesn't seem like the year for the Dallas Stars. And you got to go against the Avalanche, against
They
Cale
don't have
Makar
the
and Nick
vibes
McKinnon.
right now.
They don't have the vibes, and the vibes are
Yeah.
big.
Vibes are
It's weird.
important.
It's momentum vibes are big. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll say Avs in Toronto in the finals, and then I would say Avs would probably take that series, but it'd be very close.
Okay.
Um, so,
I mean,
but
like Green Bay's my number one football team, but my other football team is the Broncos. So I'd be fine with a Colorado win at the end of the
sure,
day.
okay, there you go. That's fine. The Jets are looking pretty good too. I
Mm,
have some faith in the Jets, although they
yeah.
keep blowing it in the playoffs. So maybe we could have two Canadian teams that always blow it in the playoffs be in the finals. So you could have the Jets in the finals, they always blow it, but for whatever reason they don't this year. And same thing with the Leafs. They always
Yeah.
blow it, but maybe they don't this year for some
That'd be
reason.
great. I would love a Canada v Canada Stanley Cup final. That would be so great.
Mhm. The only reason why I think this could be fixed for the Leafs, and I'm remembering why people thought Gary Bettman, because Austin Matthews is a superstar in the league and he
Mm.
is from Arizona.
He's
So
American, yeah.
he's always trying to get the southern states going. So this would like be good for hockey in the states. And then a lot of people actually thought having Connor McDavid win a cup would be very good for the league because he's sort of like the main guy you're marketing as the best player in the world. And so
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, when he
let's
when he won the Four Nations, like he didn't fully like raise up that cup.
I
Because
know.
he like, and I felt everyone was saying like, because he hasn't earned his Stanley Cup, he probably doesn't feel worthy to hold that cup up either.
hmm
So
hmm
I would be very happy with Mr. McDavid to win a cup.
So let's hope for a fix from Gary Bettman for the Canadian
Yeah,
teams this year. Maybe it's
absolutely.
their year, and maybe it's the year for conservatives to take back government. Seems like a long shot right now, but we don't know until Monday night.
Don't count any chickens until Monday night.
That's right. That's right. Well, we did our sin bin already and everything else, so maybe we just end it here, Greg.
Yeah, we'll do our stick tap. I'm giving it to
Oh, you
Pope
got a stick tap.
Francis. Rest in
Oh yes.
peace.
Rest in peace.
He made it. He literally made it through one last Lent and then had his Easter Sunday and went home. So we will miss him. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Stick tap. I didn't think of anybody ahead of time, so I'm going to say my wife for all the work she did because we hosted Easter. So Katrina, there you
Nice.
go.
That is a lot of work.
It was a lot of work, so I'm running the brownie points. I know you've played this. This was
I've
a
done the
play.
brownie points. It's your turn. Yeah.
Yeah. Did she say anything to you after you gave her or did she even listen? I don't think.
Yeah, no, she thought she was very thankful. She thinks our podcast is great.
Good. You got good brownie
10 out of
points
10
there. I
out of
like
10. Yeah. Yeah.
10. She likes and subscribes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's your final hint, everyone. You got to like and subscribe,
And
and make
share
sure
and tell your
and
family and
share.
friends and coworkers about this great new podcast you heard about.
Yeah, and if you want anything covered on here, let us know.
Yeah.
You know all of you should know where to find us at some point on the internets, and so please do that.
All right. Thank you very much, Derek. We will see you guys soon.
All right, thanks everybody. Have a great final week of the election campaign.
Yep. Enjoy the hockey.
Yes, I will.
Cheers.